Hey everybody, this is Andrew Brown from the Data Cloud Project Bootcamp bringing you another video, and we're going to continue on with our implementation. So we got replies working. There is still more work to do with our replies, but let's get our compose up here as I've restarted my environment. And so it should be going up. There we go. And so there's other things like repost. We have the heart. There's the profile page. I kind of want to get the profile page in so that we can do followings and have a way of messaging other folks. Now, of course, sorry, when I said profile page, I mean when I click on somebody else. Right now we are seeing all messages from me, and so I'm just going to, well, I just wait a moment here for this to provision, and then we'll run the database, okay? All right, so we're back here. What I'm gonna do is go back up to the top here, and we are going to run bin db setup, and so that will set up our data. And I'll make my way over here, and so we should see nothing. That's our old link from before, so I'm going to go over to our ports. We're going to open this up, and we won't see anything. Now maybe we should have a default message here in the case there's nothing here, just so we know that there's no error. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the home page JS, and it's really that component called activity feed that we want here. So I'm going to go here to activity feed.js. And what I want to do is I want it to have conditional content. So we'll go up here and say if props activities length is equal to 0. And I think we need parentheses around here. Then we'll do this. Otherwise, we will do that. Now, yeah, and so that looks good to me. And so in this case, we'll have this here. Okay, otherwise, I'll have one called primer here. Whoops. We'll have this one called primer, activity feed. And we will just the span, nothing to see here yet. Okay, and then we need to assign this to a variable. So I'm going to just say let content, and then I'll just assign this to content as such. Okay, and then we'll do content here, and we'll put those in curlies, and this can be very simple now, like that. And so hopefully that works with no issue here. We'll give this a refresh. Objects are not valid as React child object key. It must be rendered inside of a collection of children instead of an array. If you meant to render a okay. So it might be because it needs to first have a main div, and that's what it's complaining about. So let's see what happens if I do this. I'll see if this fixes the issue. I just don't like having all these, I don't like having additional elements, but there might be no way around that. Okay, so that at least fixes that issue, but we should be seeing this showing up, which is, it's not. So let's go ahead and inspect this. And what I want to do is just expand the content area, and we see activity feed, but I don't see anything wrapping it. Oh yeah, so there's that div, and there's the primer. And it is here, it's just the way the styling is. So what we'll do is we'll go over to our activity feed styling here. And this one is called activity feed primer. So we can just go ahead and copy that. And when it is this, go ahead and copy that. Sorry, and so when it is this here, yes, we want to paste, thank you. We're going to, we'll do it on the span here. Not on the span, we'll just do it on the main body, but I'm going to say font size 20, and we'll say text align center. We'll do padding 24 pixels, and that color I want it to be white for now. We might have variables for there, so yeah, nothing to see yet. And I'm just going to go here and type in 255, 255, 255, 0.3. Okay, and so now we know if there's something there or not, and so that will also happen on the other pages there. So let's go ahead and log in, or sign up, sorry. Oh, we don't need to sign up, we just need to log in, that's right. So I'm going to log in as my alternate account first. We'll say Andrew at cloudprojectbootcamp.com. And I think the password is just testing 123 exclamation mark. There we go. And we'll say, how is everyone doing this week? And I'll go ahead and create that CRUD. Okay. So maybe I'll make a couple here so that we can just see what we're doing. And this doesn't have a click off, which is kind of annoying. So that might be something we might want to fix. Do not like that. That's annoying. Well, we can click it again, so I guess that's not that big of a deal. But I just noticed the message vanished, which is interesting. So maybe it did not save the message, which is not something I expected to happen. So we'll go over to our backend container here. We'll view the logs. And so there is a problem here on the replies. Now, we know that the replies, we are going to use it, but just not here. So what we'll do is we'll have to move that around. Operator does not exist for integer UUID. I mean, it's supposed to run the migration, so I'm not sure what happened there. Let's go take a look at our setup script. Maybe that's our problem, is that it doesn't run migrations. It does, so I'm not sure what the problem is there. Unable, operator does not exist, integer equals UUID. Okay. Let's go take a look at our schema. We're not here, but we'll go ahead and connect this. We shouldn't be running into this issue. Okay. We'll say select or describe activities. And it's showing the replies to count to being an integer, which makes no sense because it should have ran the migration. So that makes me think that the migrations did not run successfully, which is confusing because it should. So I'm going to just do a bin db migrate. Okay, and it ran the migrations. So why it didn't run it here is a good question. So, but we'll go back here and saying, how is everyone doing today? And we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to refresh that, make sure that data persisted. It didn't. So really, it shouldn't really be doing that if there's an error, right? So maybe we can go ahead and improve our error handling here because it's kind of annoying if it's doing that. Now, clearly the migrations have ran, so I'm not sure why they aren't taking effect. So we'll go here and we'll just do D activities again. Yeah, and so it hasn't changed it. So what the heck? And it ran them, right? But yeah, maybe what we'll do is improve the error handling here. And there's activity form. I guess it just depends on where we want to see that. So probably when we write it here, it should appear underneath. So I'm going to go over and open up the activity form, JS. And here, there is the post. We have status. Otherwise, it's going to do this. So if it returns a 200, then we're in good shape. Otherwise, it's supposed to do this or catch an error. And it's not supposed to return anything, but it does. So maybe we don't throw an exception for that, which is kind of confusing because it should. So we'll go back over to our backend Flask here and to create activity, pi. And so in here, I mean, this would run and this would result in an error, right? So I don't even understand how it can post a response. Let's go down here and yeah, so it's showing this. No operator matches the given name or argument. You might need an add an explicit type casts. Interesting. But how did it return data? maybe it's because it's on JavaScript, right? So here we have the response. And I'm going to do console log data, create post. And we'll do data here. We'll go ahead and give this a refresh, because if we don't do this, it's going to be kind of a pain for us to debug things when they go wrong, or things will be broken and we won't know that they're broken. So yeah, we are getting data back here. If I go over to my network tab, it's returning data. How? It's erroring out. There's no way it should be returning data. So what I'll do is go back over here. And what I want to know is, like, if I put a puts here, or sorry, print, this should never get to here. Okay. And so what I'll do is I'll go back over here and I'll post another one. And I mean, we're seeing a 200, so that's coming back. Maybe it is committing it now? No. It's only on this refresh that's messing up. And that's because it's on the post. So it seems like, oh, you know what it is? They are working. They are creating. There are no errors. The problem that we're having here is that this query is not rendering because of that integer. So really, I mean, it's a twofold problem, but in our SQL here, we just can't have the replies anyway, so we need to move that anyway. So it's failing on this, even though we said we're going to move that. We're not going to have it here. What we're going to do is put it in our other one here. So if we go over to SQL, see if I can find it, to our users, show SQL. It's here where we're going to be doing that, showing the replies. Actually, sorry, it's in the show page for an activity. And it doesn't look like we have a show query yet. We have one for users. So I think that's the thing that we're missing here. So I'm going to make a new show.sql. And what I'm going to do is just copy this query over. And we're going to paste this in here. And it's going to need some reworking because that is not what it's doing. It's not going to grab a list of activities, just a single one. But most of the structure is going to be the same. So really what's going to happen here is it's going to be where activities UUID equals, an S value here. So we'll go here and just say UUID. Okay. And what we can do is we'll take this out here for now. But the real question is, why is the migrations not working? Because they clearly ran, but maybe they ran into an error and they just didn't tell us. I don't know. So we'll go back here and give it a refresh. Now we've yet to do we have yet to do a deploy, so it's not a big deal because we have yet to run those migrations on our production database. But I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we're going to get an error. Okay. And this is because of this invalid input syntax for type of integer. Now, I still think that we should have some error handling here because that would make our lives a little bit easier. So I think that's something we can just focus on right now, even though we're having errors. It's not a big deal. Reply form JS. And so here it has an else. And it didn't show anything. So we'll go down below here. And what I'm looking for is the error. So it's failed to fetch. That's not what I'm looking for. So this did return a 500, which is fine. Maybe we can get rid of these activity replies here because they're kind of getting in my way. So we'll get rid of that one. Is there another console log in here that is useless? That one, yep. But what I'm looking for is it to console log out the error. Or whatever the other response is here. So I'll go here and got a different error code. And so I'll go back over here and give this a refresh. We'll try this again. And it says failed to fetch. Still has this thing here. I want to get rid of that. over here. And so there is a console log right there. We'll take that out. We'll give this a refresh. And I'll hit enter. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go here. Again, I want to see error handling. Oh, we still have that one on there. That one's okay, I think, because I think we want that one. But what I want to see is this triggering, right? Because if we didn't get data back, maybe it's erroring out on this because there is no JSON response. Yeah. So I'll go back over here. On submit, data create post, activity form. That's fine. That's on the activity. Failed to fetch. Oh, so it's throwing the catch. Okay, so this is where the error actually is occurring. And here it just says failed to fetch. So yeah, I'm just trying to think here. Because that's a 500 error. That's fine. So yeah, I think that that's where we want to do our error handling. So somewhere here we should have something for errors. And I'm going to go up here and we'll just say errors, and we'll say set errors. And then down below, sorry, we'll do curlies here because maybe it can be a JSON object that we want it to be. And I'm just going to go here and say set errors. And then here, because it could be that we are raising these on very particular fields, and so we might want to report back issues with specific fields, and so that would follow a specific convention. So what I want to do is go over to our activity or our reply, create reply. And down below here, it has errors, and then it's the value here. Oh yeah, and so we made these unique. So that's how we'll know. So that means that for our error handling here, I just want to have a generic. So this will just be generic 500. Okay. And for this, I don't know if we actually have to have it like that. We'll probably just do it like this. And so for this, it'll just be the server encountered an error because that's what it did. It's just a generic 500 error. And so then we can render out these errors. And we should probably have an object for rendering. So I'm going to go over here and make a new component. We'll just say errors, field errors, or form errors, JS. And I'll just go ahead and find another. I don't like that it jumped all over the place there on me. It's trying to help me, but it's not. And so I'm just looking for anything to copy from. So we'll go ahead and grab this and paste that in. So that'll be form errors. And then we'll go ahead and grab this. This will be, oops, form errors. Okay, and then we need our returns. And so I'm going to just do class name errors wrap. And then in here, it will display errors, whether there are errors or not. So we'll say props, errors. And so we want to check if there's any errors. So I'm just going to go here and make a new ChatGPT. How to check if a JSON object is empty. I assume you'd ask for the keys that are in it. In JavaScript. I just want a quick answer. That's exactly what I thought. So here, what I'll do is if is equal to 0, then there are no errors. So here I'll just say let content or even errors here. And I'll just assign this to null. And if it's greater than 0, then there must, of course, be errors here. And so what I'll do is we'll then be able to iterate that. So, okay, just stop. Iterate over a key and a JSON object in JavaScript. I always forget what it is, so you can use a for loop, I suppose, but I'm just going to see what it does here. It's a very easy question. Come on. Yeah, for in, right? And you could use object keys to do it. Just show it to me, please. I hate when it does that. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for here. So this. And so this is just going to be props errors. We'll just say EL errors because that actually will be the element. And I kind of want this. Because if it is a particular one, like if it is 500 generic or whatever, I want to I want to render it a different way. Okay. So if it is this, then we'll do something else. Otherwise, we'll do this. Props.errors. First of all, this should be let. That's not showing both of them. That's just showing one. This is kind of annoying. So I'm going to go over here and just like iterate over JSON object JavaScript. I'm sure I'll get a better answer somewhere else. I don't want to go to site point. Let's go to Stack Overflow. Use the for in loop. However, you also have to make sure that the keys you get is an actual property of an object and doesn't come from the prototype. So var key in property. Oh, you can just pass the key in, so that makes sense there. So what we can do, props, errors here. But yeah, if we want to access the value, then we're just doing props, errors, and then the key like that. And so the thing is, if it's this one, I just want the message to be that. Otherwise, what I want to happen is I want this message to be returned differently. So I do want these to be individual items. So the idea is that we will have this. So if this is here, I'm going to do EL errors. So we have like EL errors items. That's what I'm trying to do here. Let me think about this. Because we can also iterate with a map over here. Maybe that would make more sense to do. So yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to use a map. So we'll go here and we'll say props, activities. Does that make sense? Because it's not returned like that. It's actually returned as key values. It's not a map of objects. React map for JSON object. Okay, we'll say, can you use a map in React on a JSON object? Let's see what it can do. You'd have to convert it to an array. Yeah. Okay, so that's our solution there. So we'll go ahead and grab that. Figured we'd run into something like that. And so here, what I want to do is I want to do props errors. Oh, I think you actually have to keep it as that, and it's going to be props errors like this. And then we have the key and index. And then this would be props errors for the message. And the reason I want this is because if it is this generic error, then we want to render it slightly different. So if it's this, I'll just bring this up here 1 second. Take these out. And I'll bring this up here. I still want this to be inside of our if statement. And so let's see, we want this to return EL errors items, because that would return that content there. I don't care about the index, but they have it there, so we might as well leave it in. This is complaining because of something, I'm not sure what. Because what I want to do, maybe because we're not returning anything. So I'll go here and type in return and then return. And then here I'll just, we'll put some shapes here. So we'll say div class name error item. I'm just trying to see if the squigglies go away here. No, it does not. But you know what? I could just make a form error item, and maybe that will solve our issue here. It might just be complaining because of that if statement in there. I'm not really sure. I'm not like the best at this. Error item. Return. And so now this is just going to render a single one. So on this, what we want to do is we want to say return and then do form error item. We'll import that here. I don't think we have to do this period anymore because we have absolute rendering, which we might not have updated in all of our code. But right now I'm just going to ignore that, and we'll fix that later. And so here, this is going to show up here, and we want to have the key and the value, I suppose. So we would do key equals key, and then value equals props errors key. And so that's how we're going to get both of those. We're going to take this out down below, so it no longer makes sense. We have a little bit of weird stuff going on here. I think it's supposed to be this here, like that. Now, why is that showing errors there? I'm not sure. We're missing that parenthesis, so we'll bring that back. Oh, we are supposed to have all those there, yep. That one, that one. Return is spelled wrong, so that could be the reason why. It's still not looking great. I'm just going to indent this here, 1 second. Just so I can see what I'm doing, because there's so much going on here. There's this here, which is fine. Just put a forward slash on that. Why is this all messed up? Expected. Parentheses here. I mean, we're not using TypeScript, so I'm not sure why it's complaining like that. Does it think this is TypeScript? Because it seems like it does for some weird reason. Anyway, maybe we can bring this on to the next line so it complains less. Nope. So I'm not sure if this actually is a problem, because when I hover over this, it says the type parameter declaration can only be used in TypeScript files. Yeah, I'm not sure why this is treating this as a, well, at least this is wrong for sure. So this is form error item. Maybe that's the reason why. Paste that in here. What is going on here today? Am I missing something really obvious? I'm going to go check over at our logs here. I'm not sure why we're having so much trouble. Honestly, I can't even tell if we're actually having a problem. Errors is not assigned, trend item. So we have a bunch of superficial errors, nothing that is serious. So I think that for some reason it's treating this as a TypeScript file, which it is not. It is a JavaScript file, but it could be where it exists, but it's in the right direction. So I'm just going to ignore all these lines, even though they're really annoying. What I'm looking for is to see, okay, so that one's not supposed to be there. We'll fix that like that. And fix indentation here. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure why that's happening, but I'm just going to ignore it, okay? Because worst case, it'll just throw an error and then tell us what the problem really is. And so here, what we want to do is have a div. I'm going to call this class name. Call this error item. I know I'm being very inconsistent with our divs. Some are underscores, some are like that. I apologize. We're going to go here and do props key, and then we'll have props value. I only want to have the key if it is. Well, hold on. Let's go take a look at how we actually do it over here. Right. So the errors returns this. And actually, it doesn't even return a key value. I'm wrong. It actually returns an array. So I have it totally wrong. It's not even a key value. It's just an array. So this actually gets more simplified. So now we don't have to do this object keys. But that does mean that the way we set our error there was incorrect. So back over here on our actual reply form, it's supposed to just pass it to an array. So here, I'm going to go here and turn this into an array. So I just remembered that it just pushes these because that's how I decided to do it. In Rails and other things, they'll have this plus the message. But I would rather render the message client side as opposed to server side because I think that's kind of silly to do it server side. But over here, what I'm looking for is where we set that generic 500 down below here. And so what I'm going to do here is just do this instead. And so now what we have is just a simple string array. Okay. And we can go back over here. And so this will just be props errors.map. And then this will just be the error code. Okay. And then we can still have this here, even though we really don't need it. But I'm going to pass the error code in here. So let's just say error code. And then we can bring this on a new line. Still don't know why we're getting weird highlighting here, but whatever. And so those are our items. Here it's just going to be if the length is greater than 0. And if it is, we're going to have these error items, and then EL errors is going to equal div class name errors. And then inside of that, it'll render out the EL errors items like that. And then the idea is that we can then just have this here now. So EL errors. We'll go back over here. This is now just error code. And so the idea is that we can have like conditionals in here. So render error message. Let's see how we do functions inside here. I just don't really remember how. Like that, okay. So we'll say constant render error. And we'll just go here and say error message, error code. And so now we can render it out based on what it is. So I can just say, I'll just make a switch case. So case, I can't remember how to make them in JavaScript. So JavaScript switch case. Okay. And I don't want to go to fine. So it's switch. I always just forget if it's switch or case. Some languages call it switch at the top. Some call it case. There's going to be parentheses. We're going to do error code here. It's probably going to be like this. Does it have to have the breaks in there? Sometimes it does right after the value. Yep. So we'll go case. Is it case? Yep. Break. So we have generic 500 here. And so when that happens, it's supposed to return a value. And so here you see an error has occurred. And I'm not sure why. Oh, that's supposed to be a semicolon there. And so this should render out the error. So if we go here, I'm just going to go and type in render error. And we'll say props error code. Now we do have it accessible everywhere here, so I could have just made it like this, I suppose. And then we don't have to pass anything into it. And just say props error code. You know, it just depends on how you want to do it. And so that would render out that error. Of course, there are definitely a lot more errors that we have, but figure this out as we go. The only issue, though, is that if we have this, see where it says message is blank. Like we might want different kinds of messages, or like different kinds of, we might have like these just have to be unique if you want them to be different, is all I'm trying to get at here. But what I'll do is go back over here, give this a refresh. And we're attempting replies here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Failed to fetch, that's totally okay, but it's not rendering out an error anywhere. I don't know if we actually even rendered out the error. So if we go back to our reply form, and we should be able to do this now. We don't need to do that, because that should work. Let's just say import error form errors. And this will be components like that. And so down below, we need to render this out somewhere, I guess after the submit. And this needs to have errors, so we'll say errors equals curly's errors, like that. And so hopefully that works. We'll give this a refresh. We have a big old error here, props errors map. So now it is complaining about that area we had before. So we'll go back over here, and it's over here that it's complaining. Unexpected comma. That's a period. I like how it's pointing here. It's a period, and it's saying it's a comma. So there's something wrong here that I'm not aware of. I mean, this doesn't get defined, so maybe that's our issue. So if we go constant here, would that resolve that issue? Probably not. I can even go up here and just set it up here. EL errors items equals null. And I'll just take that out there. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it's complaining about. I can't see what the problem is. All right, just give me a second to figure this out, okay? One thing I'm looking at is this doesn't have additional parentheses around here, so I'll just try taking these out and see if that resolves the issue. And I think you can have them there. Maybe the other one does, so I don't think that is the problem. So give me another second to try this out again. All right, so I just went over and asked ChatGPT. Apparently we don't have to do the explicit return, even though we are doing it. But it was saying that we have to use a parentheses when we're doing multiple lines. So let's go back over here and take a look. Definitely here, this is one problem, so we'll do that. Now, I don't remember having to do that other places because we do it here, right? So I'm not sure if that is actually true, but that's what they were suggesting that we should do. Let's do that. Go back over here. It was saying, I mean, these are defined. They're just on the outside there. You need to define EL items. No, that's not the problem. JSX should be wrapped in parentheses. You don't need to use a return explicitly here. I mean, I can take that out of there. It still shows us this period problem. This isn't a TypeScript file. I don't know why it's treating it as a TypeScript file. I'm going to go back over here, give this a refresh, see if that still has an error. Yeah, so I'll just play around with this a bit more, okay? You know, so I stared at this a little bit longer and I said, okay, maybe the error is not right here. It's somewhere on this line. So is there anything wrong on this line? And looking at this one, notice this uses a curly and I'm using a parentheses here. So maybe that is what our problem is here. So I'm going to take this one out and switch it over to a curly. And I'm going to make this one a curly. And I would expect that to be our problem. So it's not fixing it, but, and is the outside one to be a curly as well? And the reason why is because this one has it here. So maybe we don't need it on there. What happens if I just take this out here like that? Okay, so maybe that's our issue because we're trying to render that inside of something. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, someone that knows React really well would be able to spot that in 2 seconds. I'm not an expert at React. So here I want to have our style sheet file. So this will also be here. So we'll go here and type in form errors CSS. And this, of course, doesn't do anything right now. We'll give this a refresh here. Render error constant here is an issue. So we'll go back over to here. This doesn't look right for some reason. Let's go and take a look at something else that defines a function. Oh, there's no arrow, so we'll go back here. Definitely is calling it down there. I'm not sure why it's graying it out. It's declared, but its value is never read. Okay. Maybe because we need to put curlies around here. But yeah, that's the trick, is when you switch between different things, sometimes it takes time to get warmed up. Of course, we haven't been doing React for quite a while, so that makes sense. But now we've gotten through those issues. I want to go back over here, and I want to try to raise an error. And so no errors, but like no problems, but we don't see the error we want to see. So what I'm looking for is for that to render out. I'm going to go ahead and inspect to see if it actually is there. We did put it after the submit, and we do have an errors wrap here, and it does show one error, but it's not rendering out the error. Interesting. Here it returns this string, but it doesn't render it out. Okay. Well, hold on. Let's go back over here because I don't know if it said error item. So this says errors wrap error. And first of all, it's supposed to be plural, so it's supposed to be errors, not error. So that might just be a mistake here. But the map isn't showing anything. So it might be how we've defined this over here. And what we could do, because we do that like that over here for the activity feed here. I'm just trying to find where we've done this before. So this does a map within in something, and so that's why we had those curlies there. Maybe we should do it that way so that it's a little bit less of an issue. So what I can do is just go up here, and I don't think we need this. But what we can do is bring this up here, and then bring this internally here. And then we will do our curlies around it like this. Okay, and that's what it should normally look like. And so maybe that will render it out. Oh, and you know what? It was on this page, not the reply form. So it's possible that it was working, but where did we put this in actually? No, on the reply form, never mind. So we'll go back over here and try reply. Ah, there we go. So now we are starting to see something for errors. It's not exactly showing up how we want. There's no error message on the inside there. But I guess we do have form field errors that we are using other places. So it's actually kind of interesting that we implemented this here because in our sign up and sign up form, I forgot that we had it already. So let's go over to our other forms. So this would be sign in page. How did we do the errors here? Yeah, we have set errors. And then the way we rendered it out here is how. We have EL errors. And it just says errors there. That seems pretty simplistic. Is that all we do? We just literally render the errors out exactly how it is and we don't interpret them in any way? Okay, I mean, that means we can go back and use this error form here, but I just want to see where we actually implement errors. Maybe it's in sign-in errors? So what I want to do is search this entire project for errors because I don't remember where we wrote that CSS. So we'll go here and say find files. We'll type in errors, maybe period in front of it. It's in the sign-in page. Yeah, so we just have this very simple code here. I'm going to cut this out. And this is now going to be part of form errors. Okay, and then the idea is that we'll update those forms and be more consistent here. But yeah, the color is white for that, but it's not rendering out the actual error. So there's something wrong with our error item here. What I want to do is I want to just make sure that there actually is those props there. So I'm going to go ahead and just write in error code, so we can better see what's going on here. We'll give this a nice refresh here. And we have more problems. So over here, missing semicolon for what? Since when do we need semicolons? Well, it's not showing our save console log. You can see this one's empty. We'll give this a refresh again. Maybe we're not allowed to put a console log there. It's kind of annoying. Missing semicolon. Are you serious? Well, I took that out of there. Give this another refresh. I think it was just delayed there. So instead of doing the console log there, I'm going to do a console log above here. So console log props errors. I just want to see the contents of it. We'll give this a refresh. And we'll click into here. So it is printing that out. Let's go back over to our form errors over here. And I want to see if any error code is being printed out here. So we'll say render error. Props error code. So we're just walking through it to find exactly where it's failing. And it's not console logging that out. Let's just give it a refresh, just because sometimes when it's doing the re-render, it doesn't, we go too quick and it might actually be showing it, but it's not showing us that there. It's not rendering here. Interesting. So that makes me think that the map's not working. Because it's not showing the error item. It's not even showing the box around the error item. So clearly there is another problem going on here. So we'll go back to our form errors. And I'm just going to carefully look at this. So we have the map on this. Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem is here. While we're here, we might as well just change this to components. And let me play around with this. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, so I fixed it, and basically ChatGPT gave us bad advice. It said that when we use a map, or a equals arrow, that it does an implicit return. It's not true. I put the return in here, and now the message is appearing. So just put the return here. And again, I'm not too concerned about remembering how to use React, but just that when we do React, that we can figure it out. So, just realize if and when that matters. I notice we have a line up here. It's probably because it's part of our form styling, our pop-up heading. I'm not sure what's supposed to show up there. I guess we could make sure that says reply there. That's just kind of annoying looking at that. So I'm going to go over to our reply form here, JS. And I'm going to go down here and look for the heading. So there's nothing in here. So I'll just say reply to, and we'll refresh this. And then I can go here. And it's not showing anything. So there must be somewhere where we have a pop-up where, like in the form maybe, over here, edit profile. Oh, and the save's up here. Okay. So if we go back over to here, a reply's down here, which I think is more natural when you are working on this. But I guess the thing that I care about is what do we need to wrap in this to get this to display correctly? And it wants a pop-up title. So we'll go back over here and I'll just say div class name pop-up title. Okay. And we'll go back over here, give this a refresh. And so this will look a little bit better. Yeah, it says reply to, so that's a bit nicer. It's supposed to, I mean, we don't have to have it clear out, but I mean, if you go to a different one, it seems like it should, right? So that might be a little UX thing we might want to improve on. But, so yeah, we want to see an error code now here, and we do. Another thing I'd like to see is an error if it was left blank. So that would be also interesting. Also, if we close it, does it leave the error there? It does. So every time it repops up, it should really clear that out. Yeah, those are the things that we can probably fix later. I just want to focus on seeing that error message. Now, what happens if I go here and I just leave that blank? Is it still returning a 500 and not even getting to that point? Hit reply here, a 422, and that's what I want. This is giving us a message blank. Here it says, got a different error response. So if we go back over to our form here, not here, but if we go over to form errors, maybe not there, back to our reply form, we can just take this out here, and I'll just set the errors based on what it returns back as the data. Well, what is the response here? If we go back here, does it actually return that JSON data? Because in that case, it should return JSON. So go back over here, response, 422, that's totally fine. Yeah, it has data. So I'm going to just go here, console log, and do error data. I just want to see if it actually returns there. Sometimes in other frameworks, it does it a bit differently, so I'm not 100% sure. And I'm just going to leave that, sorry, I'm going to leave that blank. Hold on. Reply. Okay, so it does. That's perfect. So what I can do here is bring this up. Whoops. Or we'll just say set errors, and we'll pass the data back because that's only going to return the error data. And what I'll do, put this here as the second parameter. What I'll do here is then put in all the custom names for this one. So this is in our reply, create reply. We have all these unique ones here. So I'm going to go down here and we'll have our breaks. And so we have this. I kind of don't want to have to, you know, write this all. Maybe I can do that. Just make this a bit more compressed here. Of course, if you were using a linter, it wouldn't like this. It would be like, hey, don't do that. Oh, I guess we could have this on separate lines. I'm just optimizing nothing here for no reason. Case here, we'll go down here. Then we have activity UID blank. Then we have message blank. Then we have message exceed. So that's all that is here for the reply. So Cognito user ID was sent. So the user was not provided. And that's something that would be like an internal error. It's not something that would happen often, but here we have activity UID blank. So this is going to be, this is for reply. So the post to reply to, the post was blank. The message cannot be blank. The post ID cannot be blank. We'll go down here. The message is too long. And so, you know, we could even be go here and say like this one should be 10024. 10024. It should be no longer characters. Okay, so that's that there. So that's fine. Then we could go over to where we also create messages. So that might be another one. So create message. I'm just trying to get them all in here so that we're just saving ourselves some time. Also, if we want, we could indicate that these are replies. And then here, this could be users. So this one is unique. We already have message blank. We already have this. This one's the same thing, 1024. So there's that. We have update profile as well. So we have display name. And you know, the thing is that we can't really see where all these are. So it might even make sense for us to consolidate all of our messages in one place, but whatever. Because we are seeing some repeats. That's the only thing that we are checking here is the display name. Display name, so the display name cannot be blank. There are the sign up and sign in forms. I'm just trying to think here where that happens. Because that stuff is happening from Cognito, so I don't know if we'd actually even have the errors there. And actually, when Cognito has it, they just print it out directly. So what we'll have to do here is type in else or default, because in the default case, we should just return whatever the error code is. Okay, and so, you know, in the case for errors returned from Cognito, they directly return the error, so we should just display it. Okay, so there's no interpretation that has to be done for that. All right, and so hopefully that is good. I don't know if it's default or else, but I think we caught most of our errors there. And so what I want to do is go back here, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to leave that blank. And so the message cannot be blank. So now we're getting better error handling in place. We do want to have that in a bunch of places. That 500 error should still not be happening, but we will solve that here in a moment. So I'm going to go back here, and I want to do the same thing here. And so I want to see an error on this form as well. So we'll go over to whoops, didn't mean to change that. We'll go over to activity form JS. We'll open up the reply form JS, and we will need to go ahead and import that there. So, and again, these can be fixed to just be libauth as such. We'll bring over this component here. And we want to place this, I suppose, below the submit. This is below the submit here, whoops. Form errors, it's going to be the same thing. Form errors, form errors. Do we have errors up here? We don't. We'll go ahead and do that. Refresh. And so what I want to do is go here and hit CRUD. And so I'm expecting an error to come back here. Now it could just be the error handling that it's not applying it on here, and it's not. So let's just say set errors. And then this one would be also, by the way, this error really depends on the status code. So what we could do is be a little bit more intelligent here. And instead of doing generic like this, we could do interpolation. Okay, because in the case that we get a different kind of error, like errors that we got a lot in the past were like 403s and stuff like that. So if we did have a 403, it'd be nice to say like, hey, there is, you have an authorization issue. So I'm gonna go back over to our form errors or our form items. And we go up here, and then we can just do that and print that out. So there's our 403, so an internal server error. And this one would be you are not authorized to perform that action. And then the other one would be the 401. You are not authenticated to perform that action. Okay. So I think that will improve that. We'll go back over to a reply form. And so that has that. You know, we could try to refactor this so that all of our forms always do these two things. But I think I'm just going to copy paste and keep it simple for now. And so we'll go up here and we will, whoops, we'll paste that in here as such. And then here, this will just be set data for the errors. Okay, and we'll go back over here, refresh. And we'll go here and we'll hit enter. And it says res is not defined, probably because it's right here. Maybe it's named different for some of these. Well, it's named res up there. Reply form JS line 58 or line 54 on the activity form. Well, then how else would we get the response error code? It's right here. Don't tell me it's not there when I can see it. Unless it's defined on the outside of the scope, so that's probably the reason why, because it's outside the try catch. So what I'll do is I'll just take this here, and I'll just say let res up here. Maybe that's our problem. Let res. And we do have a lot of, again, repetitive code that is happening here, so I almost kind of really want to refactor it. We'll go back over here, we'll give this a refresh. We'll see now if that actually returns our error. Cannot read properties of reading status. Well, why? Why not? It clearly should get set, right? So if I go here, console log res. That's on the reply form, so we'll do it over here. Console log res. It's going to tell me it's like null or something silly. We'll go here and I'll hit that. It's undefined. So yeah, we want to get the status code back in 500. So fetch should return status, but it catches instead. It does a catch instead. Just one moment. I mean, maybe we don't have to use the that try there, because notice people are doing it in this kind of format. So what I'm going to do is go back over here. Well, this is using an await, and we don't necessarily have to use an await here. So maybe what we could do is use that syntax instead. So I'm just trying to look here, because it's not catching the way I want it to catch. So I think I want to use this syntax here, I guess. Okay. So it's really just going to be looking here, then otherwise do that. So what we'll do here is we'll just see if we can change this around and see if it makes any better difference here. Just going to double check this here. Yeah. Go back over here. Yeah, so I'll go grab this. I mean, there might be some way to get this working, but again, you know, I don't know everything about JavaScript. I just want this to work. I'm going to do rest for response. And so this is all the stuff that's inside of it. Hold on here a second. Yeah, so really it's supposed to be down here. So I'll go up here. Or we could also extract out these values. So we'll just say const tribs. And then I could just cut this out here as such. It's a little bit easier to read. Okay, and so now this is just a tribs. And so it's like that. So that's a little bit easier to read. But now I can also bring this over here on the end. And I'll just change that to response. And then what we'll do is we'll just take wherever this goes here, like this, indent that. And so now this is going to be curly and parentheses. And then we can take our catch here, do that. Probably wants like an arrow or something, like catch error. I'm going to call this ERR. Curly parentheses. And so maybe this will give us less of a problem because, well, does it? Because we still don't have access to the response, do we? Unless the error code actually returns the response. So now I'm just kind of thinking about that. Maybe maybe we don't need to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo that. I mean, you know, it's a nice syntax. It's another way that we can do that. But I'm not sure if it's worth changing if this one does work as expected. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to log out the error here. I'm going to see if the status code's in the error. That's probably what I should have been doing this entire time. So we'll go and refresh that. I was just really obsessed with that, getting it from that value, but maybe we don't need to get it from there. And we'll just go ahead and hit enter. And so status code. Sure. Let's go over, hold on here. Okay, so I realize that this is not where we're getting the error, so I'm just gonna take this out here for a moment. And we'll go back and update this for just a second. And I think that the error here contains it. So what I'll do is go back into a reply here, and hit enter, and it should print out that error there. Yeah, we already took that out. It just doesn't know. We'll refresh this here. We'll go back, try this again. And the error shows what? Show me the error. Render error. Error. I want to see the error. I want to be able to get data off the error. It's over here. Here it is. Well, it's showing this, but maybe there's a code on it. Maybe we can do like .code. .code. I just want the error code on it. Oops. Reply. Is that on the right form? No, it's not. Of course it's not. Because there's like code and there's message, I believe. So maybe that's the way we get it. Go here. Reply. Undefined. Yeah, of course. Get the error code from an error. JS. It might also be called error code. I just don't remember. Maybe we can do it this way. No, that's using Axios, but maybe Axios follows the same convention here, or fetch follows the same convention as Axios. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I'll just on both so that in case I did it on the wrong one here, we still get it. And we'll try this and see if we get anything. I'm not sure if that'll work. We'll give this a refresh here. And there's a double parentheses there now. Just go back over here. We'll give this a refresh. We'll try this again. Get a status code from fetch when in a try catch, in the catch. All right, just give me a second, okay? All right, so this is what ChatGPT gave us back, and so hopefully it just works. I'm kind of getting tired of trying to figure out what the code is here. I could put a breakpoint in our code. That is another option that I have, and we could play around with that object, but I don't feel like doing that. I just want this to work. So I'm going to go ahead and do some copy-paste spaghetti here and just hope that it takes. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and try this as well. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll go back over here and we'll refresh. The only problem is like that will show a 500 error, but you know, it should always show a 500 error in both cases. But we'll go back to the replies. I think that's where it's not working, and we'll hit enter. And so now it's showing, oh, cores, which is all right. So the error here is cores. The status is 422. Oh, actually that's not the error. It's not. This is a 422 error because it's blank, which is interesting because it should still return this information. So I don't think that's what it's raising an error on because yeah, it's this console log here actually. Sorry, so I'll take that out and. Actually, no, we can leave that in, but I think we just want both the data in there. I'm just trying to remember where do we have this where I copied and pasted out my stuff. Go back here. I'm trying to remember where we had that error, the 500 error. Oh, it's when we write something, right? So we go here and we write it in. And it goes down below and we get render error generic 500. All right, well, I don't know about those 422s, but I would like to try to catch them. So I'm going to just tell you that this is probably not exactly right. But you know, I can't play around all day trying to figure it out. So that's where I would go and hand this off to like Baco and say, hey, Baco, can you go figure out what freaking code it wants here? Because I don't want to waste my time playing with JavaScript. And that's why I don't think it's worth people's time to become front-end developers. Because, well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have good skills in it, but I'm just saying that it is a huge time sink, and you can obviously see that cloud, you can do something a lot more complicated in cloud, but you know, I can spend hours debugging this one thing, or I can spend hours setting up something in the cloud like a Fargate server, and a Fargate server I think is worth more money than this. This is kind of Mickey Mouse kind of work. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is go back over here and refresh. And so I guess that's good enough for our error handling. I think what I would like to do is simplify this stuff, because this is starting to get pretty darn complex, these on submits. And so what I want to do is go ahead and make a new file and try to refactor this out and simplify this. So I'm going to go over to under our components here, or sorry, lib. I'll make a new one here. And basically we are doing our own kind of fetch. So I'm just trying to think of a name for it, because I don't want to have fetch here. I mean, these are just posts or puts, I suppose. I'm going to call this one requests.js. Hopefully that is not a conflict of name here. Actually, I'm just going to capitalize this and call this requests. And I'm going to just take a look at what we did over here for our checkoff. Yeah, so we're going to need a couple functions here. So we'll have an export function. I don't know if these need to be async. They probably do. We'll go ahead and make them async, I suppose. No, I don't know if we do need to make them async. Well, it will tell us if they are, and we'll have a post. Okay. And we'll have a put. And if we need a get, we can do a get as well. Okay. And so now we can start to bring over this code and generalize it out. So this is our activity form, which we know does work. And so I'm going to cut the contents out of here. Here. And this is, I believe, a post, so I'm going to put this here for now. And we can call this request, because it's not going to change too much. And then down below, I can have my my put and my post here. So just say put, post. I don't need to export this one, because this one will just be used internally for however we call that request, right? And this will just be like the method. And so the method here is going to be post, put, and get. And there are some things we want to factor out. So we want to have the URL, right? And so that will have a URL here. We'll pass it over like that. Okay. And so what I can do, I'll just kind of close these out of here so they're out of the way. This third tab here. Can I close all this here? Close all. There we go. And so I want to go ahead and start importing this. So we'll say import. And yeah, it says there's no get access token because now it's being used over here. So maybe we don't need to have our access token over where that. No, come on. Give me a darn break here. Don't tell me you pasted stuff inside of stuff. Okay, that's still okay. So I'm just going to go here. This copy paste is just a nightmare. Go ahead and hit cut. I am not that bad with copy and paste. It is this browser thing. But anyway, so instead of this here, what I want to do is have post from our request, because that's what we are doing. Or requests, I suppose. And I'm not sure why it's comment. Oh, because we're not using it yet. And so here what I'll do is I'll do post. And then I want the URL here. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab this URL here above this, paste. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Very frustrating. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut this out. We'll go here and paste this. And so now we are getting our backend URL that we want. So that's one thing that we need to pass through here. Okay. So this needs to be here for method. This needs to just be our URL here, so that's being used. I don't need this console log on here. Take that out. This is probably a complaint because this is not async, so we'll just go type async up here. Maybe it goes in front, async here. There we go. I'm surprised that's not complaining down there below, because usually if one is async, the next one else has to be async. It's just kind of like cascades. But so we have our method here, the access tokens being applied. What's going to change is whatever the payload is. So this will just be our data. And so what I want to do is extract this part out here, cut this out. And this is going to be our data. So we'll pass that in here as data. And then we'll go back over here. And this is our data. The only issue with this is that this is the data that's coming in, and this is the data that's being returned. So normally when it's like data that is being sent, I'll just call it a tribs. That's what I prefer to call it. Okay, and then we'll go down here. Tribs. A tribs. I guess it could be payload data. Payload data. Maybe that'd be better, actually. This needs to have URL. This needs a URL. Whoops. Now in the case of the get, the data is going to be a bit different, but we'll tackle that here in a moment. So we want to, that looks fine. We have our URL, we have our tribs, we have our method. Oh, we called it a tribs. I'm going to call it payload data, because I still might want a tribs for something else, and that's why I'm changing it. I'm going to take that out so I don't have to see that. Here on the post action, this is what it's doing on whatever we want it to do. So this would be whatever we want this to be. So this would be the success function. So we go up here and we'd have success. Success. And this would be success. Now we might want to have one for error, but until we actually have a need for that, I'm just going to leave it out and keep this simple. Okay. And so then what I want here is I want to grab out this stuff here. We'll paste that on in here. I don't think that pasted correctly. I'll just undo that, and we'll undo that. I'll just go ahead and call the function here, do this. And so then we can just go ahead and grab these values here and paste that in as such. Okay. And so I think that simplifies that greatly for our code. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to break them up at the top here or however you want to do it. But I think this is the most readable to me. I still don't know if this needs asyncs on those, but what we'll do is go back over here and see our page break. Oh, it didn't break. Nice. Okay. We'll go here. No problems. Can I still post? Data is not defined on activity form. So up here, we just need to put a const on that. We'll try this again. URL is not defined. That's because we called it backend URL. So I'm just going to say URL here to keep it simple. Check the method error undefined Kiev. So it did mess up, but I mean, it did seem like it saved it. Let's go back here and see if it did. Did this create? CRUD. It did. Why it's not showing the name here is a different story. We'll go over here and take a look. We have the display name. We have all the data. Each child in a list should have a unique key property for activity feed under activity item. I'm not exactly sure why that messed up. But it did create it, so that is interesting. Like it, of course, passed the data here and pushed it on. You know what? I think the thing is that it says data and then data. And so this actually should pass the data to the success function here. And so this should say data here. And so I'm just going to say payload data up here. And then that will be less of a problem here. Often I'll call this a tribs, but you know, again, I'm leaving that open. We'll go back over here, give this a refresh. And I'm going to try this again. I can't tell if that's new. Is this new? It is good, great. So that refactor worked greatly. And so now our code is, I think, easier to work with. So we should go ahead and update that in a few places. So we do this for a few things here. One would be the reply form. So we'll go over to our reply form JS. And we can simplify this as well. So instead of this, we'll do, what is this, a post? That's a post. Okay, so we'll go here, post, and this will be requests. And then I can go down here and we'll have post. I want my URL, so I'll bring this up here. Okay, and then we want our payload data. Then we want our function here for our success. So of course we'll have the data returned. And so here's our data. So we'll go up here. That'll be our payload data. Then we'll go down here to here. We'll grab all of this stuff. And we'll paste this in our function here. And so hopefully you agree with me that this is less verbose and less repetitive. So I think that's looking a lot better. Another reason this is like tied to the errors is so that it automatically sets those errors. So we are going to all the forms and setting that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the forms are on everything. I'm just trying to think where else we do this. So we have the update profile as well. Maybe form. We have, well, we have the message form, so we could do that one. This one is a post as well. So we'll change this over to post. And this will now be requests. We'll go down here, post. This will be our URL. And this one's a little bit different. We also could have called it JSON because technically that's what it is. I don't know why we called it payload data. Yeah, so that's just our payload data. And then we want our return function. So user or URL, payload data function here, parentheses. And this is the kind of stuff that's like always gets left in the apps last because nobody really wants to have good error handling, but it does make things a lot easier, especially for your users. It won't be functional if they don't have this. They'll be very confused. So we'll grab this out of here. We'll paste this in here instead. And we'll bring this back a level. And we can go ahead and delete this out. Simplify that. Okay. This doesn't have an errors form, so I'm just going to drag this over here. What does it say? Update profile pi. Oh, sorry, because it's that wrong file. I'm just going to close a few of these so we can see what we're doing. Yeah, message form. So I just want to go over to the reply form here, and we'll grab this one here. And we'll grab this here, copy it. We'll go over to here, and we will paste this down below here, okay? And so that's for the messages form. We also want that for the update profile. We already did the update profile, so that one's fine. What other forms do we have? Do we have any other ones? Profile form, activity form, message form, reply form. So those are all the main ones. We do have like the sign in. So we can go, I didn't mean to change that. We'll go over to sign in page. And the sign page is a form itself. So that's why we never did anything fancy here. We have the EL errors there, but we'll bring in the, well, this is not being rendered out. Did we forget to render that out? Down here. So here we'll just have our, go back over here. I guess we didn't actually copy paste that in. Let's go over here and paste that here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to replace our errors here, which apparently appears above our submit, which is slightly different, not a big deal. And we'll go to the top. We'll grab this here, paste that in. The auth is done, so there's no more to do here. We can take that out. This probably could be switched over. That's an SVG, I don't know. It'll do the absolute paths. We had some issues there when we had the .css. I wanted that to be switched over, but didn't work as expected. So we have our on submit, and yeah, so it does the set errors every time we do the on submit. So that actually might be what we want to do is to reset that. Well, actually, no, we can just leave it in there. We don't necessarily have to put it within our function. So in all these other places, we could be setting it like that. Oh, we didn't finish this here? Oh, no, we did. Okay, it's just very complex. This one's just a more complicated implementation. But yeah, we could be clearing this out every single time on our on submits, which is probably a good idea. So I'll go back over to our reply form here and doing that as well. So go and do that. We'll go to our activity form, and we'll do that as well. Okay. And you know, you might also want to clear out the fields. Well, maybe not in that case, but you know, when you do the pop-up, you definitely want that stuff to clear out. But I guess we could watch on the React effects on the pop feature if we wanted to do that. I was just thinking about how we would actually do that. Just gonna put this down below here. And so this one's using auth sign in. It's doing its own thing. So we're actually going to leave this alone, but it was useful for us to bring over our form errors. I'm going to go over to maybe sign up JS. And we don't need that like that anymore, but we will bring this over here and paste that in here. And we'll go down below and find out where we are applying this EL errors. And actually we have to remove the old one here. We can just get that out of there. We don't need that anymore. So we'll go ahead and bring this in here. So copy that. We will go ahead and paste that in here. We'll get rid of this EL errors. So that's fixed. So yeah, that's a lot better. Another thing that we should do besides the forms is I'll update any place where fetch is being appearing with our new function. So I'm going to go here to our edit. We'll say find in files, and I'm going to search for fetch. Parentheses. Okay, and so we can see there's a few places where this is happening. So our profile form has quite a few fetches. Now, the thing is that this fetch here is going to not our backend. So this one we're not going to touch. This one here, again, is not going to our backend. So we're not touching that one either. This one here is our on submit. That one we can update, but I thought we just did fix this one. Maybe we didn't. Did we not import it here? I guess we didn't. I thought we did profile already, but I suppose we didn't. So what I'll do is go to our activity form. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, copy this, and we will paste this in here. So we have form errors. And then I'm going to go all the way down below for our error handling. And we'll bring this in here below our last field, I suppose. Probably outside that because that's probably fields here. This here is probably fields. Or the file, I suppose. Yeah, so we don't want that in there. So I'll put that down below as such. Yeah, input. What? That doesn't make sense. I guess our indentation's off, or what's going on here? Oh, it's pop-up content. Okay, great. So yeah, we want this on the inside of our pop-up content, so we'll fix that. Just some indentation problems. Okay. And if we go up here to our on submit, this is something that we can replace. So we'll go ahead up here. And we actually might need get access token for these other ones. So we're not going to remove that, but we're going to copy this and then do, I believe this is post as well. I mean, it could be a put. Yeah, it's a put. So we'll bring in put. And this one's going to be requests with a capital on that. And we'll go down here. So I want this one to be a URL. We might want to set our errors to clear here. We want to have our payload data. And we will want to have a response, I suppose. So, but we'll just do our put here. We'll do our URL, payload data, and that will be our function for our success function here. And that passes its own data. And then we'll go down here and then grab these. Okay, place those there. And then we can take that out as such. So now we have better error handling here. I think our try is messing up here, but we don't actually have a try anymore, so we can take that out and fix that. It's not there, the try. You can also do return false on the end of these submits. I'm not doing that, but it's usually good practice to do that on these event defaults. I just don't feel like going back if it's not causing any side effects, but you're supposed to do it. At least in the past you were. So let's go to our other pages and just continue on. So we have here our homepage feed. And this is doing a get. So the data would be set a bit differently if there was data to be set. Notice that there isn't any body. But let's just click through and just take a look at some of these gets. So what I'm looking for is if we actually are passing any data. And also notice that we're not doing application JSON on these. I mean, I guess we can. There's no problem with that. But yeah, so we are not assigning any data to these ones because they would just end up in the query parameters or query string at the top. It can't pass a JSON payload in its body. So what we'll do is go over to our request here. And over here, we could make this very simple by extracting this out as a tribs. And we'll just take this here, put this up like this. Told you we use that tribs. And we'll pass that like that. But the reason I'm doing this is because I want this to be conditional, this attribs body. Only in the case, actually we can just do period because this is JavaScript that we're using. I'll actually just do like this here. Like that. Because we only want this to happen if the method does not equal get. Okay? So in these cases, it can pass data along. I don't know if that's the case for delete as well. We don't have a delete yet, but that's something that we will have to do. So I'm just going to put this in here. And we'll just say delete. I'll say delete. I don't know if that's a reserved word. Yeah, it is. So I'll just say destroy. Okay, and that will get us around that issue there. Yeah, and so we really only want this if it's not the get. Can you pass JSON data payload, body payloads to delete? I can't remember. It doesn't say we can't. But, I mean, really it's just the get that I'm concerned about. So that should fix that issue there. Expected something. Oh, because there's this on the end here. Great, and so that will hopefully resolve that issue there. And so we want to go back to wherever we were. I guess it was this page here. And so this is using a get. So now what we can do, so we have check auth and get access token. Because these are on pages, and on the pages we want to do a check auth. But the check auth doesn't need the get access token, so we'll just take this part out. And while we're here, we'll just keep fixing these up to use the absolute pass, which we did some other time. And here, what we're going to do is say requests. This would actually be a get here. And this is going to be URL. We don't need to pass data in this case. I mean, if we wanted to turn that into a query string, we could figure out a way there. But in this case, for the get, we're just going to leave that out for now. And I'll just put this empty. Actually, this will just be null here. But we still want to have a success function. So we'll go here and say function as such. Okay, and then we'll go down here and we'll bring this up here. And then all this stuff can go away. Greatly simplified, I think. Not sure how you feel about that, but should be easier. We'll pass, well, there is, yeah, it can return data, so that'd be that. And that's what this is here, data. Okay, so that's one fixed. I'm gonna go over here, click the context here so I can leave this example open. So this was the user feed page. I wanna go to the home page here. And we'll just continue on doing what we're doing. So we want to get rid of the access token here. We'll bring in this one here. Okay, we'll go down here. We'll change this to URL. And then we will go ahead and grab our get like this. And we'll paste this in. And then the difference is we're going to grab this here and replace all that. And then we can delete all this stuff out. And we don't need a try, so we'll just do that. Looking a lot better, eh? We'll go to our next instance. So this would be here in the message group's new page. More gets, which is totally fine. So we're going to take this one out. We'll fix our absolutes. We'll go up and grab our get from here. We'll paste that in, right click paste, because I do not trust copy, Control C, Control V. I'm going to go down here to our, we'll grab our URL, we'll grab this up here. I need these two lines for our get, so I'll go ahead and grab this, paste this in here. We will cut these two out. We will paste it in. Really, the copy paste works good if you're in the same file, but once you go into another file, it just seems to lose that context. I have a really hard time with it. So yeah, that looks shorter. We will go to our next one here. So over here, more gets. So up here, we'll get rid of our access token. Also noticing that these need to be fixed. Okay, I'm going to go up to our get and grab this. We'll paste this in. We'll go here, and we will go ahead and bring this URL up. The only thing we need is this here, so I'll bring this up here. Okay, we'll delete the rest. Don't even need that semicolon there. These semicolons are optional in JavaScript. There are some cases where you should have them and you'll run into problems, but for the most part, you can leave them out. Just keeps your code nice and neat. Okay, so now that one's fixed. We have another one here. So we'll bring this up. And you know, the reason I like to have the URL outside of here, not in here, is A, because it keeps this code simpler. But again, if you want to put a console log in between them to debug them, you totally can. So we'll go down here, bring up our set messages. And I'll delete all this out, take that off here. We'll go ahead and grab this. And so that is now fixed. So that is good. Group page JS. URL. We'll bring this up. So we'll do that. And we'll delete this out. We'll grab our function. We got to make sure we bring in those imports. Kind of do this out of order. We'll delete this out here. Bring this up here. And so, yeah, the check auth we need. Oh, so we already have those in there. Great. I guess because we do a, maybe because we do a get and a post on this page. Oh, because we just did it there a moment ago. Okay, I see. And then the last one is our notifications page. So go to the top here. We'll fix our absolutes first. Okay, we don't need the get access token here, so we'll take that out. I want to bring in the get here, copy, right click paste. And I'm gonna go down here and we want to extract out our URL. Bring that up here. All we are doing here is setting this activity, so bring this up as such. And we'll go down here to the ground. paste this in as such. Another thing that I'm just noticing is that we have to make sure that this gets set correctly. I wasn't really paying attention closely to those. I just assumed that they were all called data. So yeah, this one is called res. So I'm going to go here and fix that. This one's called res as well. Otherwise, we're going to run into a lot of troubles. So hopefully we haven't done that too many places. There's this res JSON. So maybe I can just search where that is. This is res JSON, res JSON. So go back here, res JSON. Yeah, there's a couple here. So this is going to be data. And then this one will be data as well. Okay, and so yeah, there's our quite a big refactor for our errors, and we were just trying to, I don't remember what we were doing. It's another refactor, busy work. But we were having errors with the replies. Oh, we wanted to do the profile page, but we got sidetracked. So I guess that's our errors refactor. Let's refresh here, see if we have any errors. We might, so we'll go here and do inspect. It says set errors is not defined. So there might be some where, oh, that's in the request. Ah, right, okay, so it's kind of annoying, but we do have to pass that set errors to our get. Now, if we, or to these things, so, I mean, not necessarily. Well, let's go take a look here, and no, we need to pass it along. This is kind of annoying. So I guess what we could do, oh, that's going to be annoying that we got to pass it to all those ones. But we'll open up our requests here. And so basically, we do have to set the errors because we're kind of making that our convention here is that if there are errors, it's going to set errors. But that's really only the case of forms, right? So, well, I guess a 200 error could return errors as well. So maybe we should just be doing that in all cases, actually. So, yeah, I think we'll just do it in all cases. So here I'll just have our set errors. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but we'll do that here because I can't think of another way to do this, honestly. Like there could be a way that we set a variable up front somewhere. I don't want to do that. So we'll go here and this will just be set errors. And then that way it'll have access to it. So now we'll have to go update all of our gets and puts, which is kind of annoying, but at least it's not too hard. But the nice thing about having this here is now that we can just do set errors like this, and then we can reset it. So we don't have to have that in all our other places. So I know we just went through all these files, but I'm just going to close them all off. Okay. And I guess there could be a case where there is no set errors, and if there is, I suppose we could just pass null, but and in the case that that is the case, so we'll go here and just say if set errors, does it even exist, then we can do it, okay? And that way that won't error out if that's not there, okay? I think we can just do that. Because we'll always have to pass something in, so we can just say, you know, does not equal null, I guess, to be more explicit, I suppose. I just don't trust JavaScript, so I'm going to do it explicitly. And so the idea is we'll always pass an explicit null if we don't need to pass it along. And so I'll just close some of these off here, and I guess we'll have to go through all our files again. Not a big deal, but I'll go here and do post first. So here we have a post, and so we have the set errors up here, but now we'll just pass it in as such. So we'll say set errors. And then we'll go to our next one here. And this one will be set errors. And we'll take the one out here in the top. We'll go to the next one. We'll say set errors. We'll take that out of the top. And that one's fine. So we'll look for put. We only have a couple of those. So this isn't that bad. We'll say set errors. Okay. Yeah, we just did that one. Then we'll do our gets. And so the thing is with the gets, I mean, we could have a set errors here and then have a generic error when there is not a request. And that's probably something we should do, but I don't feel like doing that. I just want this to be done. So if these don't fetch, then they don't fetch, okay? Null. 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 This one's okay because this is a, well, that's a get though. Yeah, so this would be, no, I don't know how we got set errors in there though. Okay, well, whatever. Null. And null, so hopefully that will fix our issue. Go back over here, get this refresh. Set errors is not defined here. Oh, again, that has to be conditional, right? So we'll go back to our request here. And only if it's defined. So if set errors does not equal null, then we can go ahead and do this because then we assume it's there. Okay, go back over here, give this a refresh. I mean, no errors, but we should see errors. We have a 403 on our page. Why? Okay, I'm going to refresh this again. I'm not sure what we're looking at here because that's XML and that's not really our problem. So it's not calling the, it's not calling our function for some weird reason. So maybe we messed something up. Let's go down here to our get. Oh, right. So for this, yeah, we don't have to necessarily set it. No, that makes sense. So get URL null set error success. Method URL payload set error success. I just want to make sure this matches up here with the mount that we have down here below. Seems like we might be missing one. Method URL payload set error success. So that looks correct to me. What's going on here then? Maybe we can do a console log and just see what's going on. So I'm going to go here and say, actually I'm not 100% sure. Let's go back over here, give this a refresh. I mean, it's not making any request. Make a request, save this, refresh. So it is attempting to make a request. I mean, it could be failing on our try. Because it does do a catch here, eh? Do this here, just refresh. So there is a problem that's coming through here. What I don't understand is why I don't see the XHR request. It seems like it's being kind of silly here. It's not showing me my XHR request. I don't know why. That's frustrating. I'm going to go here and print out the error. Attribs is not defined. Okay, so that's fine. We'll go look for that here, and we'll just say const. It's not even anything. It's an error caught from the code. Okay, so now we're seeing our stuff. We'll go here. Okay, so yeah, we now have better error handling. Now there could be still some stuff broken if we did anything wrong there, but I'm not too worried about that. We'll fix that on the fly, and we'll try to get back to actually coding features. I mean, this is technically feature development, but again, it's more like quality of life in the application as opposed to main functionality for the application. So we'll say better error handling or refactor error handling and fetch requests. Okay, so yeah, that's a big one. But I guess I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.